One of the things that your book dispels is this genius myth. And one of the things that has frustrated me is the myth of Steve Jobs being very mercurial and browbeating employees and things of that nature. And I've seen other people, not just founders, but other leaders at companies behave in this manner. Now, that myth may be true, it may be false. I know that Steve worked with Bill Campbell as an executive coach, and he did so in the 90s. So before Apple really kind of soared and made him who he was as a founder or as a business leader. But can you talk about why this genius jerk myth is incorrect?
We really try to dispel the myth. And the Steve Jobs lore out there often misses the second part of the story. And if you really delve into it, and there's a similar story for Amazon, Jeff Bezos, there's a similar story for others, but Steve was fired from Apple, and he started a company Next with the same amount of bluster and thinking if he just does the same type of thing that he does at Apple, that he could be successful. And it turned out Next was not successful. So during those few years, he was really humbled, and he really had a question. Hey, I have to act differently. Apple's success wasn't just because, I was a jerk. It was because we found product market fit, right? There's a bunch of other things that happened, and I really need to rely on others. So when he came back to Apple, he was a transformed person. He started working with Bill Campbell. He developed, leaders like Tim Cook, leaders like Johnny Ives. Now, look, there's aspects of your personality that you can't change. So I'm sure he was, he still had a temper. He still had high expectations, but he was able to modulate that, and he really learned how to work through people. And that part of the story, if you Google it, you can see that story is out there, but it's often not cited. And that's what our data shows. Our data shows that, that founders often with their initial success, and yes, there's a drive maybe that got their initial product market fit out there. And they use that as an excuse to say, okay, I'm the person that's always right. And so I just need to get everybody to listen to me. And it's just not that simple. As a company gets bigger, you lose touch with the market. You can't know everything that's going on. Your business becomes more complex. There's more products, there's more customers, there's more investors. You actually have a business model, right? You have people that want to be rowing in the same direction. And you can't, the same techniques that allow you to be successful with that first initial phase aren't going to allow you to scale. And that's why founders can be ticking time bombs. And so it's really, really important for us to dispel that myth of the genius jerk, because that becomes an excuse not to change. That becomes an excuse not to learn. And that becomes an excuse not to build a level of self-awareness. So we spent a whole chapter showing, look, the data doesn't actually show this is true. And when you really dive into the stories, you find out it's a much more complex story. And every great leader that we've seen has gone through a journey of self-awareness and come out the other side.
It's done us a disservice because too many people have tried to model that. And that was not why he was good.
The founder and CEO of Airbnb wrote a founder mode article. Actually, I think Paul Graham wrote the article. But you can see there's a lot of young founders out there that just took it out of context. Right. And says, I just got to be a founder, drive my agenda. It's like, that's not exactly what Brian was saying. And his success at the level of scale that Airbnb has was about working through people. Now you are a founder, right? You don't want to go to the other extreme and just say, look, I'm just going to back off. But how do you blend the benefits of your founder instinct and your passion into not lose that, but really, again, learn how to work through people, learn how to build systems, right? Learn how to build relationships, learn how to manage for execution, and learn how to value that those things are really important.